Hey, it's Dusti Martin again. I am back with your April statistics. It is May 6th, 2020. Just bringing in your real estate market update for the month of April. All right, so here we go. Our active listings are down 24.6%. That's quite a bit more than we were expecting, although we have been locked down for 6 weeks now. And so our inventory has gone down simply because so many people took their homes off the market, which has brought the inventory lower for the buyers that are still out there pounding pavement. But our sold listings are actually down 35.2%. That's the big spread. We're starting to see the effects of being locked down for about 6 weeks. And even though real estate was considered an essential service, many other people were put into situations that made their income and their job maybe a little less stable, and they needed to figure out what to do. Some people were just more fearful about being around people or getting sick, and so they wanted to minimize their risks since they didn't need to move exactly right now. The other thing we're seeing is so many of the jumbo loans are hard to attain and or have higher interest rates, and so that's less appealing right now for the higher end buyers. So we're seeing some slowing there. However, our median price per square foot is still up 10.2% over last year. It's currently sitting at $254.66 for Scottsdale. Last year, it was at $231. And most people would be asking, well, if the sales are down and not as many people are buying and there's less inventory, why is the sales price still going up? And it's because there's still a pretty increased demand for the amount of homes that are still there, because there's still that contingency of buyers out there who need to move, and there's still those sellers who need to sell. And those sellers, some of them are doing some things that you may not think that they would be doing in our current market. But once I get to the price range brackets, I'll explain more and it'll make more sense. But overall, the demand is still there. There's still not enough supply for the demand, and then therefore the prices are still going up, which is great news if you're a seller or recently bought your home. It means you didn't buy at the top of the market so far yet, and therefore you can still expect to be equity-wise in a stable position as a homeowner. Now, our month's supply is actually up for the first time in several months. I can't remember the last time our month's supply was actually up over last year. It's currently, it's up 16.3%, and our current month's supply is 3.73, so just barely inside the seller's market marker of 4 months. So our month supply is up. That's to be expected simply because there's less buyers out pounding the pavement right now, similar to like we would have with a Christmas season where only the people who need to move are out there doing so. And then our median days on market, though, is still down, which is great news if you're looking to sell your home. The median days on market is 41 days, and so we're down 24.1% over last year. So with that, when you take that into consideration, that explains why our prices have still continued to trend upward, even though showings are down, listings are down, and purchases and contracts and sold listings are down. The neat thing I did see this morning on a trend chart from a company called Showing Time. They are a company that basically for several MLSs, tons of MLSs all over the country, they set up our showing schedules and allow us the electronic ability to schedule showings and provide showing information to those people showing our listings. Well, they also track data, and they did track and are showing for the last, from about March 5th when this started to take off on the East Coast, through today, we're seeing kind of that Nike swoosh. They had this huge huge drop of showings. And then we're starting to climb back out of it, kind of like the Nike swoosh. We're not quite back to where we were before this, but we're certainly headed that way. And our showings, in terms of the number of people going out to see homes versus last year, we're down about 20% from where we were last year. All things considered, though, that still means that there's more buyers in most markets, at least here in Arizona and in the Valley, than there are sellers. And so let's get right into the price range numbers, and then I'll help you guys understand what's going on there. So our month supply overall, like I said, is 3.73%, or 73 months, pardon me. A little tongue-tied, been a long day. Anyway, however, when you go from the $0 to $100,000 mark, here in Scottsdale, we're at a 2.25 month supply. That's still a really strong seller's market, albeit it is much higher than it was last month. Last month, I think it was somewhere in the ones, 1 month and change, I think, if I remember correctly. The $100,000 to $200,000 price range is at a 1.83 month supply, still crazy white hot seller's market. The 200 to 300 is at 2.21 months of supply. That's about double what we were last month. Last month we were still like in the 1 month range, which is just like white hot. You can't sell them fast enough. But 2.21, that's still a really strong seller's market, and things are still moving really fast in that price range. The $300,000 to $500,000 range is kind of the, aside from the $100,000 to $200,000, like those condos that you see in Old Town or North Scottsdale that are a little bit older, the $300,000 to $500,000 range is at a 2.05. So basically a 2 month supply right there. And then it starts climbing incrementally from there. From 500 to 700, we're at 3.63. That is just slightly inside a seller's market. So that's good. That's still good news. Interest rates are still crazy low for anybody not getting a jumbo loan right now. So if you're financing, I want to say less than $510,400, you are not going to have a jumbo loan, and therefore enjoy a crazy low interest rate in the 3.2, 3.3 range, somewhere in there. The 500 to 700,000, oh, I just did that. Let's see here, 700 to $1 million. We are at a 3.41 month supply. So we're still slightly inside the seller's market, but with that caveat, depending on where you are in Scottsdale, you may be outside of that seller's market range at 4 months. So if you're if you're thinking of selling, you need to call me and figure out what it is for your exact zip code, because in my research and looking around, I'm finding that is not entirely true as a blanket statement overall for all of Scottsdale. It's really becoming very location specific. So if you have questions about that, please call me. So the 700 to $1 million mark, we're at 3.41, just barely still inside a seller's market. And then we get to the $1 million to $3 million price range, and that has an 8.26 months supply. This is, I think, the first time in Scottsdale in a couple months where I've seen a buyer's market in this price range. And again, it's also dependent on the location. So some locations I'm seeing it's more even stable, but others it's definitely technically a buyer's market. When we compare that to last year we had a 6.86 month supply. So an even stable market where neither the buyers nor the sellers in the $1 to $3 million price range were considered to have one hand over the other. But this year, because of what's going on and the crunch that we're seeing on those jumbo loans, remember, anybody financing over that $510,000 mark, they're getting crunched. Those interest rates are more like 5 or 6%. They're less appetizing, therefore less people are going to take them out. And then a lot of people who keep their money, a lot of those $1 million cash buyers that we would normally have. Because the stock market is struggling a little bit, they're kind of moving their cash around to safer places, and they're not quite writing those checks unless they need to right now. So I have a feeling we'll come back, if not by the end of the second quarter, but definitely by the time it cools off again in the fall. I think we'll be right back to where we belong. And then in the $3 million price range, we're at a 28.6 month supply. Over last year, we had a 17-month supply. Now, that price range is almost always a buyer's market, so keep that in mind. If we go back a couple months when it was just white hot, regardless of the price range for Scottsdale, when we compare that to what other parts of the country were experiencing, some other parts of the country, when things were good, we're at a 28-month supply then, and we're just getting there now. So try to keep it in perspective as an Arizona homeowner, and Scottsdale in particular. If you can find those cash buyers or those people who absolutely need to move, you're in good shape. However, you want to make sure that your listing is the most compelling thing on the market if you need it to move now. So just keep that in mind. If it's not compelling, it is not selling. So it needs to be the prettiest house with the prettiest price, as usual in that market. If you guys have any questions about what's happening in your neighborhood or your zip code, give me a call, 480-717-9405. I look forward to helping you with all of your real estate needs and concerns. And if you think somebody might benefit from this video, share it with them, hit the subscribe and the like button, and I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.